Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You're listening to Daily C1 English Vocabulary. My name is Emma.
And my name is Tom. Today we're covering 14 useful words and expressions.
We'll break down their meanings, share natural examples, and show how you can use them confidently in everyday English.
Let's dive right in.
Rant. Our first word is rant. This one can be both a noun and a verb, but let's look at the noun first. A rant is a long, emotional speech or piece of writing where someone complains about something, criticizes someone, or expresses strong frustration. It's informal, but very common in everyday English.
For instance, she went on a long rant about how badly the project had been managed. I had to listen to his rant about the new corporate policy for 20 minutes. His post was less of a serious argument and more of a rant. Did you see his rant on Twitter?
As a verb, to rant means to speak or write at length in an angry, emotional, or forceful way. You're not just making a simple complaint. You're going on and on because something has really annoyed you.
For example, he ranted about his boss for the entire dinner. She ranted about the traffic the whole way home.
A related word is complaint, but there's an important difference. A complaint can be short, calm, and reasonable. A rant is longer, more emotional, and often less controlled. It also overlaps with tirade, but tirade sounds more formal and literary. In everyday speech, rant is usually the more natural choice.
Foray. Now, foray. This is a noun, and it's a great word to add to your vocabulary. A foray is a brief or first attempt at a new activity or entering a completely new field. For example, her foray into acting didn't last long, but it was an interesting experience.
Originally, foray had a military meaning, a sudden attack into enemy territory. But today, we use it much more broadly. The key idea is that someone is stepping into unfamiliar territory, often briefly or experimentally.
For example, his foray into politics was short-lived. He returned to journalism within a year. Or, her first foray into freelancing taught her a lot.
The word is neutral to slightly formal. You'll often see it in journalism or business.
Compared with attempt or venture, foray adds the feeling of moving beyond your usual world. It suggests exploration, not just effort. And that's the nuance that makes the word useful.
Vent. From ranting to something a little softer. Vent. To vent means to express negative feelings openly, usually because you need to release emotional pressure. The key difference between vent and rant is the tone. When you vent, you're looking for relief. You're not necessarily trying to make an argument or attack anyone. It's more about processing emotions.
For example, I just need to vent about my workload today. Do you have 5 minutes? Or, she vented her frustration to her closest friend. Vent is informal and very common in everyday conversation. It overlaps with rant, but venting is usually more personal and vulnerable. Ranting is often louder, more intense, and more outwardly directed.
And speaking of releasing emotions brings us to our next word. Unleash. Unleash is a powerful verb that means to release something strong, intense, or difficult to control. It comes from the idea of literally releasing an animal from a leash. But today, we use it much more broadly.
For example, the storm unleashed its full force on the coastline. The new policy unleashed a wave of protests across the country. The campaign unleashed a huge public response. It can also be used in positive contexts. The program was designed to unleash the creativity of young students.
Unleash is common in news, literature, and everyday English, but it often sounds strong and dramatic. It suggests that something powerful was being held back, and now it has been released. Compare it with release. Release is more neutral and controlled. Unleash has more force behind it. Once something is unleashed, it can be hard to control. Vanish. Our next verb is vanish. Vanish means to disappear suddenly and completely, often in a way that feels surprising, mysterious, or unexplained.
For example, the money vanished from the account overnight. The magician made the coin vanish. He walked into the crowd and vanished.
What sets vanish apart from simply disappear is the feeling of speed, surprise, or drama. When something vanishes, it doesn't just go away. It seems to be gone all at once.
For example, her confidence seemed to vanish the moment she stepped onto the stage. That's a good example of how vanish works metaphorically, too. It's not only for physical things. Confidence, hope, opportunities, and even memories can vanish. You'll hear vanish in conversation, stories, news reports, and more dramatic writing.
And it pairs naturally with our next word, because sometimes things don't vanish all at once. They slowly disappear over time. Dwindle. To dwindle means to gradually become smaller, fewer, or weaker. It describes a slow decline over time, not something that disappears suddenly.
For example, the company's savings dwindled after 3 years of poor management. Attendance at the meetings has dwindled. We used to have 50 people, but now we get 10. The number of volunteers dwindled after the first few weeks.
Dwindle is often used with resources, numbers, populations, support, energy, or enthusiasm. For example, the team's enthusiasm dwindled as the problems became harder to ignore. Support for the candidate is dwindling as the election approaches.
The word suggests that something was once stronger, larger, or more plentiful, but is now slowly fading away. Compared with decrease, dwindle feels more expressive. It often carries a slightly sad or worrying tone, especially when we're talking about things people care about: money, support, energy, or hope. You'll see dwindle in journalism, reports, and more polished everyday English.
Pan out. Our phrasal verb for today is pan out. Pan out is an informal expression that means to turn out or develop in a particular way, often successfully, but not always.
For example, I hope the new business idea pans out. Unfortunately, the deal didn't pan out the way we expected.
The phrase comes from gold panning. Prospectors would sift through sand and gravel in riverbeds, hoping to find gold. If something panned out, they found something valuable. Today, we use pan out much more broadly. It can refer to any plan, idea, decision, or situation.
A very common phrase is, we'll have to see how things pan out. That means we'll wait and see what happens. Pan out is mostly used in casual conversation and informal business contexts. Use it when you want to talk about whether something develops well, fails, or simply turns out in a certain way.
Moving to adjectives. Dubious. Dubious describes something that makes you feel doubtful, unsure, or suspicious. It has two closely related meanings.
The first meaning is doubtful or uncertain, when something doesn't seem very convincing or reliable. For example, the plan seemed dubious from the start. Nobody really believed it would work. Or, his explanation sounded dubious, but we didn't have enough evidence to challenge it.
The second meaning is questionable or morally suspect, when something seems dishonest, unfair, or not completely acceptable. For example, he had a dubious reputation in the industry. The contract contained some dubious clauses.
So, dubious can describe an idea, a plan, an explanation, a reputation, a decision, or even a business practice. Compare it with suspicious. Suspicious is usually stronger and more direct. If something is suspicious, you may think something is clearly wrong or dishonest. Dubious is softer. It suggests doubt, hesitation, or unease, the feeling that something doesn't quite pass the test. It's also more formal than sketchy, which is the casual everyday version. So if someone says, "That sounds dubious," they mean, "I'm not sure I trust it."
Tangible. Our next adjective is tangible. Tangible means real, clear, and noticeable. Something that can be seen, measured, proven, or experienced in a practical way.
For example, we need to see tangible results from this marketing campaign, not just promises.
In professional English, tangible is often used when you want to show that something is not just an idea, a plan, or a good intention. It has a real, visible effect. The new training program led to tangible improvements in team performance.
You'll often hear it in phrases like tangible results, tangible benefits, tangible progress, tangible evidence. It's a slightly formal word, common in reports, presentations, and serious discussions.
Impeccable. Our next adjective is impeccable. If something is impeccable, it is flawless, without mistakes, weaknesses, or visible imperfections. Her presentation was impeccable, clear structure, and strong visuals. Impeccable is fairly formal and usually sounds like a strong compliment. It suggests a very high standard, something polished, careful, and done without fault.
You can use impeccable to talk about taste, manners, service, style, reputation, or performance. For example, he has impeccable taste in music. The service at that hotel was impeccable. Everything was handled before we even had to ask. Despite years in a very public role, she maintained an impeccable reputation.
Intimidating. Something or someone intimidating makes you feel nervous, scared, or less confident. It doesn't always mean something is dangerous. Very often, it means something feels difficult, serious, or overwhelming. So you start to doubt yourself.
For example, speaking in front of a large audience can feel intimidating at first. Starting a new job can be intimidating when you're expected to learn everything quickly. The amount of material we had to learn looked intimidating.
Intimidating is neutral in register. You can use it in both everyday conversation and more formal contexts. Compare it with scary or frightening. Those words are usually stronger and often suggest fear or danger.
Intimidating is more psychological. It describes something that makes you feel small, unprepared, or not confident enough.
Tentative. Our final adjective is tentative. It means not definite or certain, done or said with hesitation, as a first step that may change. We made a tentative agreement. Nothing is signed yet.
It allows you to sound careful and realistic. A tentative date is a possible date, but it may change. A tentative conclusion is a conclusion based on current information, but not yet certain. A tentative solution may change because people are still unsure.
It's a neutral to formal word. You'll hear it a lot in professional contexts. We have a tentative date for the meeting, the 15th, but it might shift. Now let's move to idioms. Doom and gloom. This idiom refers to a general feeling or attitude that everything is bad and will only get worse. A deeply pessimistic outlook. Stop with the doom and gloom. Things will improve. The news was full of doom and gloom about the economy. The market is difficult, but it's not all doom and gloom. Some companies are still growing.
It's informal and conversational, often used to push back against excessive pessimism. Don't listen to him, he's all doom and gloom. It's often used humorously to lighten the mood. Enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about something positive.
Fall off a cliff. Fall off a cliff, or sometimes go off a cliff. This idiom means to decline suddenly and dramatically, especially after a period of stability. Their sales numbers fell off a cliff in the third quarter. Engagement on the platform fell off a cliff after the redesign.
It's used mostly in business and economics, but you'll hear it in everyday speech too. My motivation to go to the gym fell off a cliff in January. Compare it to dwindle, which we discussed earlier. The key difference: dwindle is gradual. Fall off a cliff is sudden. One moment things are fine, and the next they've collapsed. It's informal and vivid. Journalists and analysts love this phrase because it paints an instant picture.
Blow off steam. This idiom means to release built-up stress or energy, usually through physical activity, complaining, or just doing something fun. He plays football to blow off steam after a tough week. Don't take it personally. She was just blowing off steam.
It comes from old steam engines. If too much pressure built up and wasn't released, the engine could explode. It's informal and very common. You'll use it often when explaining or excusing someone's outburst. He didn't mean it. He needed to blow off steam.
Get something off your chest. And finally, get something off your chest. This means to tell someone something that has been worrying or bothering you, so you feel relieved afterward. I've been feeling guilty about it for weeks. I just needed to get it off my chest. Can I get something off my chest? I don't think the plan is working. It's a warm, conversational idiom, and it's often used as a way to introduce a difficult conversation. It signals that what comes next is honest and personal.
Compare it to vent. Venting is about releasing frustration. Getting something off your chest is more about confession, honesty, or relief from a specific burden. It's informal and emotionally charged. Use it when you need to say something that's been sitting heavily on you.
And that's a wrap for today. Let's quickly recap today's words and expressions. Rant is an angry, emotional speech or complaint. Vent, to express frustration in order to release emotional pressure. Foray is a first attempt to enter a new field or activity. Pan out, to develop successfully or simply to develop in a particular way after uncertainty. Dwindle, to gradually become smaller, weaker, or less. Vanish, to disappear suddenly or completely. Unleash, to release something powerful or intense. Dubious, doubtful, skeptical, suspicious, or questionable. Tentative, not final, not certain, or done carefully because of uncertainty. Intimidating describes something that makes you feel nervous or less confident because it seems difficult or powerful. Impeccable, flawless, excellent, or showing extremely high standards. Tangible, touchable in the literal sense, or clear, real, and measurable in the figurative sense. Fall off a cliff, to drop suddenly and dramatically. Doom and gloom means a very negative or pessimistic tone. Blow off steam, to release stress or frustration. And get something off your chest means to finally say something that has been bothering you or weighing on you.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time.